This is a video just to explain the Patreon features for the March feature vote. It's going to be a lot quicker than normal. We're going to try and do it at quite a high level. If people got any questions, they can ask them in the comments on the Patreon page and we'll answer those questions in detail. So the first one is the ability to adjust the width of the columns in widgets. That's basically, it's not just that, it's a couple other bits. So it's this edit table functionality where you can pick the columns. We're going to completely redo this, so not only can you pick the columns, but you'll be able to set the widths for them, and also some other bits to do with it as well, like defining what the default sort order would be, and you'll be able to sort by sort of multiple columns. So this column first, and then so you might want to search, sort by the wiki first, so list the wiki players at the top, and then by alphabetical order or something afterwards. So you'll be able to define multiple sort of columns in the sort order, as well as the width, as well as which columns you want to show on, as well as the order that they appear. So it's just sort of enhancing that edit table functionality. The next one is a new calendar, so it's an additional calendar. So we'll leave this sort of straight up fixture list, but we're going to put an actual sort of calendar with days in the month and a box per day, and information about the fixtures and the results, and basically the ability to show with checkboxes what you'd like to see in that calendar. And it will also contain other details like pending transfers, transfer that have happened, and when the transfer deadline is, and dates that wiki players will be added to the game, and all this sort of stuff. So really just a calendar of when all things are going to happen for the whole game world and for your club, and you'll be able to sort of choose what you want to appear in your calendar and not. There's actually some conceptual sort of artwork, graphic design for what that could look like, and that's in the video for the previous month, and it's got a bit more detail there. So that's really, if you look in the February features vote, there's information about that. The next one is there's a new, basically replace this entire mailbox. So this is a total redesign of it, not just visually, but also in the back end. So back end of the game application, or basically just completely redoing the whole mailbox, and it will look a lot better. It'll be a lot more usable. It'll be based on sort of how Microsoft Outlook or your standard sort of email clients tend to sort of work. So a bit more intuitive, and there's some concept art for how that could look in the video for the previous month as well. The next one is back and forward arrows. So these arrows, and then also basically, not sure exactly where you click, but basically ability to somehow around here you'll click and you'll be able to access a navigation sort of trail of all the pages that you've looked at recently. So you'll be able to go back, sort of like you've got to click, say here, I'm not sure where exactly, but click somewhere, and then a list of all the sort of pages that you've looked at will appear, and you can click one. So you might have checked out a player profile 8 clicks ago or something, and you'll be able to click there and you'll be able to list out all the pages, and you'll be able to go sort of directly back to that player profile. And also enhance this back and forward functionality to kind of do things like, if I'm in the results detail tab and I go to home and then I go back, it takes me sort of like back to the page but not the right tab, so really making it so it takes you back to the correct tab as well. So sort of there's a few bugs associated with these and limitations in how these back and forward arrows work, so we want to sort of completely redo the functionality so it tracks not just pages but tabs as well, and also has the breadcrumbs associated with it. The next one is cup tree diagrams for the cup competition. So at the moment when you go sort of to the cup pages, sort of just list the fixtures here and the results here, and this is really just adding in like a cup tree diagram, some visualizing basically this round as a tree, and showing the path for each team needs to go through to get to the final. The next one is daily progression reports. So this is in your mail, you'll get a sort of mail message come through each day, and it will give you an update about how well how well your players are developing. So it'll basically say which players have gained which attributes, and players who are sort of progressing abnormally well, and players who are not sort of progressing very well or declining or whatever. So really just a report, a daily report that sort of tells you all the things that that you need to know. I mean, primarily it'd be a list of all the attribute movements that any of your players have had for the day, and it might also just contain a little bit of a summary about players who are progressing abnormally well as well, maybe. The next one is enhanced sort of league tables. So sort of enhance this to look a bit, make it a lot more visually appealing, and add a few bits of extra functionality. So one, it will sort of highlight up the teams that are in relegation places. It'll highlight up the teams that are in promotion places, and we'll have an information column that will, I'm not sure, somewhere at the end or at the start or in here somewhere, maybe like an information column that will sort of formally list with an R maybe, or a P if a team is officially relegated or promoted, or officially has qualified for the Sans Peril Cup or whatever. So really highlighting the places that are the relegation places, and then officially putting information when a team has actually been relegated and promoted. And then also an extra column for form for teams, like their last sort of 5 matches of what their results are, wins, draws and losses for a form column, and also the ability to navigate back to previous seasons to look at previous seasons' league tables as well. Next one is Steam achievements. So on Steam itself, games have achievements like, if you're not familiar with what that is, it's like for our game it might be things like win 10 official matches in a row, or keep 5 clean sheets in a row, or sign your first wiki player maybe. I mean, that's a bit probably not so much that, but maybe field a whole team of wiki players. So really I think it's just, we'll probably want to have at least maybe 20 of them, probably more, and it is something that if this gets voted in, what we'll do is we will go to the user base and see what ideas the user base have, and essentially go with the ones that people would like to have included in the game there. But definitely it'll be types of things like stuff tied to match results, individual match results, have a player score at least 5 goals in a match type of thing. So individual match achievements, sequences, as well as stuff outside of that, like maybe buying or selling players, or and then probably some obscure stuff as well, like play a match with all of the players in the starting 11 and the substitutes bench all from the same country or something. Maybe, I don't know. We've got a list ourselves of about 40 different things, and we actually will in the first instance go to the user base, because really we want to include the achievements that people would like to see if we have this one. The next one is adding a YouTube button on player profiles. So this is next to this wiki button will probably be a YouTube button, and somewhere I imagine it'll be here, a YouTube button. What we'll do is we'll build up basically a library of YouTube clips for all of the wiki players, and by clicking on the button you'll be able to access that YouTube library. So if you're interested, you'll be able to, any wiki player, you better click and you better see video footage of them. Obviously for players like Robbie Fowler, it would be lots and lots and lots and lots of available YouTube videos. Some other players that are a bit more obscure, it might only be 1 or 2 or a few minutes of footage, but really it will be a case we'll just build up whatever, we'll build them up, and the libraries initially for the players, and we will probably allow for users to somehow contribute to adding videos to them libraries as well. The next one is additional columns for squad lists, including player attribute values. So on the squad list, so this will include basically, if you go to, at the moment you can't go customize UI, so we'll basically let you go customize UI, and you'll be able to add all the columns. Basically I think you could think of the columns that you could add are all the columns that are available when you export your squad. So this is all of the stats, all of the attributes, and as well as some other stuff as well. So from here you'll be able to customize, you'll be able to add in, I think most notably there's a few other bits, but the most notable thing that you'll be able to add here that isn't already here that would be really useful would be whatever attributes that you wanted for the players as well. But essentially, if you're curious what the list of columns is, if you just look in the columns when you export the squad data, it'll basically be all of them. It'll be available to select. The next one is looking at fixtures. So basically here somehow there'll be another widget where you can basically pick a team on a drop list probably, and it'll list all of their upcoming fixtures. So you'll be able to see what fixtures are up and coming for your opponents. The next one is enhanced financial information. So basically, you've got information here about your next 28 days and your projection chart. But in addition to this, it's basically information, some extra details, but most notably information about what has happened in the previous 28 days and a chart for that, and basically a comparison to what has happened in the previous 28 days versus what's going to happen in the next 28 days. So it's not just a projection going forwards, but it's basically what has happened in the past 28 days and a comparison between the two as well. The next one is friends list. So basically, you better right click on a user, add them as a friend, and one of these tabs will probably be your friends list. We sort of have an extra tab that's your friends list, and then there'll be some bespoke sort of extra bits of functionality they'll probably put in with that, and some more over time as well, like for example being able to set that you sort of block all friendly match requests except from people on your friends list, or block all private chat except for people on your friends list if you want, stuff like that. Next one is historical youth stats and the career history for player profiles. So we can see the career history here, but basically you'd be able to select a season a row, and there'll be an extra piece of information that'll show for that season. Somehow you better see the all of the more broken up the stats. So you better see the under 21 stats for that season, the under 18 stats as well. So basically from here you'll be able to not only see and access the senior stats for their history, but also for the youth stats as well, for separately for under 21 and under 18. The next one is for the Patreon Cup. Is basically to change this competition, or to add the functionality for cup competitions to be able to be not official. So this is we'll just make it so that it's like unofficial fixtures, so there'll be no injuries or suspensions that sort of get removed or ticked down because of it, and also you won't get your players injured or suspended in these fixtures, and they will count as friendly match stats instead of official ones. Next one is next to previous squad within so the next one is basically there'll be up and down arrows. I'll probably see it here, and if I click down it'll go to the next player in Woodburn 58 squad alphabetically after Fowler, and up it'll be the player before that alphabetically. So it's just a way that you can quickly navigate through a squad by player to player, rather than having to sort of go to a squad list back and forth all the time and pick the next player. So you got to quickly just sort of scroll through them all. The next one is really just for the alerts and notifications, sort of in the settings. Apologies, I don't have it set up. So in the sound settings, basically you have notifications and the ability to set assign custom sounds. So you will basically be able to select whatever audio file you want to play as the notification instead of the default ones. The next one is the Reborn Legends are automatically released from contract if the owning user hasn't logged in for at least 28 days. So basically when this gets to level owning user was last on time, once it gets to 28 days ago, basically that player will be automatically released from their contract. So they'll go from a release from contract negotiation, people will be able to bid and somebody will be able to sign this player from this user, and then the user will receive the monies from losing the player. But it's basically you won't be able to retain the wiki players if you're inactive. So at the moment the inactive users are sort of, over time they've been taken out of the game, and their players are being taken out with them, and this is really a way for the Reborn Legends to sort of remain in circulation in the game. Something that we actually have a lot of people ask about. Basically every time users are being removed from the game, and they've got, especially the Reborn Legends, people always want us to do something to release them from contract or something like that. So this is pretty much directly what a lot of people have asked for, really, that all of these Reborn Legends will stay in the game. shortcut keys for navigation and action. So basically in your settings, you'll be able to assign shortcut keys for, so this would be a good example here. One again would be a shortcut key to show and disable these attribute progression regression arrows. So I don't personally, I'd rather sort of not have them there all the time, but sometimes I am curious just to see how well a player is progressing or regressing. So I could probably assign a shortcut key of say P maybe, and if I hit the P, all of these arrows would disappear or appear, and vice versa. So basically it'd be and then for some of the options we'll basically have shortcut keys like this one, and then other ones would be sort of just navigation. So you'd be able to assign M for mailbox, C for chat, H for the home page, whatever you wanted, and L for your league table, whatever the case is. So basically a whole bunch of sort of shortcut keys for navigation, as well as sort of for different types of features by enabling or disabling some of the options as well. So another example of something you might want to enable or disable is sound on a shortcut key as well. So next one, make cup competitions accessible to view for users and not in there. So this is basically on the world overview. If I go to the PFA, I mean from here basically make it so that you can directly access the FA Cup for the PFA and the community trophy through these screens. At the moment it's not that easy to get to access sort of information about cup competitions, except for ones that are you're in and are on this menu here. The next one is Twitter boards for FAs and competitions. So this is if you go to your club and your profile, you'll have like a Twitter. I have a Twitter board, and whenever I tweet something, if I put this hashtag, it appears here. So we'll basically add a similar board to this, or similar board to this for each FA and for each competition. So here there'd be like a Twitter board for the TFA Division 1, and I can put the TFA Division 1 the appropriate hashtag, and it will appear on the board. So we'll basically have one for each competition and one for each FA as well. So when you go to the FA page, there'll be a Twitter board here for that FA as well. So this is really a way for sort of people to create their own news. They can put the for the season roundups and stuff, they'll be able to appear links directly on those Twitter boards for everybody in that FA or those divisions to see them. The next one is add a transfer fee column to the career history widget. So on this widget, basically an extra column. So whenever he was transferred in any seasons, it'll list the transfer fee that he's transferred for. So you'll be able to see all of the historical transfers that have happened for that player and what the amounts were on their career history. The next one is on the player search. Countries, I think Europe is so nationality, and then Europe, they don't quite, I mean for me it's very usable, but we've had this requested a few times, so presumably on a laptop maybe it's not so easy to use, I'm not sure, but basically this is to have them sort of bucketed into A to K and L to Z or something, so it's like Europe and then you pick after that A to K. I'm not sure, because it must be somewhat different. If it must be much harder to use if you have a lower resolution. We have had a few people request it, so this is really just to make it so it's easier to not have to use this scroll bar to pick a country basically. And the next one is to add a search condition that is not position. So you'd be able to basically say position is not proficient goalkeeper. I mean, you better do it for other positions as well, but I imagine the most useful one is not goalkeeper. So you can look for everybody who isn't a goalkeeper. So alright, cheers. Thanks for watching, and if you've got any questions, just post them on the Patreon page and get them answered. Cheers.